Alright, testing, testing. 1, 2, 3. Let's do some more painting. Alright, testing, testing. 1, 2, 3. Alright, seems like it's working fine. Let me just do a bit of self-promotion and then I'll get to painting for another 60 to 90 minutes. Okay, I'm done doing the old promotion there. I missed a couple places last time, so it took slightly longer. Alright, thanks for coming, everybody. Let's lower the thingy. Thank you very much for that correction, Artie Chard. Appreciate it. If you're still here, hello, Dawn. I am still kicking. Been doing lots of nerdy stuff still, just haven't been able to share it online much. And another Nate, hello. Hello again, 80. And another Nate, I recommend you go to my YouTube community posts and read the one from about 6 months ago, because I'm going by Laina now. No longer Liam. But you know, it was just a community post from 6 months ago after a period of relative absence, so understandable if you never saw it and aren't in the loop. Alright, as is tradition, we're going to remoisten the wet palette. And yes, the sponge is looking kind of yellow and gross, but that's just kind of what happens with old wet palette sponges, you know? Got some fresh distilled water, though. Well, not distilled, filtered. Distilled is way too fancy for me. I also often squirt a bit of water onto my, like, brush wiping cloth, because it gets kind of, like, once it starts to get a bunch of paint on it, it gets kind of stiff and water resistant after a bit, but I can still use this one for a bit more before I have to, you know, flip it to the fresh side. Thank you, another Nate. Also incorporated into the brain meats. That's a fun expression there, very cyberpunk. All right. So yesterday we left things off with a, okay, well also here's the finished Spartan, so today we're going to be edge highlighting the other ones. And finished Spartan with an asterisk because the base isn't done on this one. And here's the 3 yesterday, which we got up to the washed state, so as you can see they're obviously very dark and grimy. And now we're going to be building up some pinks, and we'll probably just do pink highlighting today. We'll see how long things take. Also, I did say yesterday it was fine, but I did have to do a bit of wet palette maintenance from some bleeding paints. So we're going to definitely be utilizing the kind of untouched areas of the palette today. If you wondering what these colors were for, it was for the terrain pieces, which I painted first off stream because painting like random crates and terrain pieces didn't feel exciting enough for stream. There was a good warm-up. Also, do let me know how the audio sounds. Yeah, just my webcam here. Okay. Turn on some more background lights. I like this actually. There we go. Just, you know, weird dynamic range between the really bright lights on the desk. Alright, we got our P3 Murderous Magenta. Nice 80. Wet palette's very powerful. A little bit of a learning curve to get used to. And also it's different depending on how moist your environment is. So we got a bit of the Murderous Magenta on there. And now we're just going to add a drop or two of this random acrylic ink mix I have that's kind of like a very light blue with some, maybe bit of purple in there as well. It's mostly blue. Okay, let's just start with one dot, see how that looks. This is a very vibes-based edge highlighting. Yeah, there's only 4 Spartans, so we just need them to look close enough in color. We're not trying to replicate across an entire army here. Yeah, for this first bit, we're gonna have to do a decent amount of referring back to the one finished Spartan. Alright, and hopefully the mix of music and microphone is alright. And it's a very quick and haggard edge highlight, because these are mostly gaming, or these are basically gaming pieces, not really display pieces at all. You can just use the pot. Yeah, you're right, already charred. So it's just gonna be like just 2 rounds of edge highlighting. Basically. And by 2 rounds I mean like 2 stages of color. We'll have this one and then we'll mix in a bit more of the light blue. Alright, I tried to move the camera a little bit closer so it can get a bit more detail. We'll have to see how the focus does. And let's start at the bottom with the feet. Yeah, it looks like there's a weird chunk missing on this guy's leg, which is just kind of part of the sculpt. Because it's not on this leg. You know, I'm okay with the painting being a little messy on these guys. Because, you know, they're pretty nice minis, but they're not as nice as like a full-on plastic model kit mini. These are kind of more like miniatures you'd get in like a high quality board game, so they're better than like the average model that comes in a board game box, but not as good as like a full-on model kit, if that makes sense. So some of the like armor panels, it's like a little hard to tell whether it's like, oh, is that a seam line left over from like the manufacturing, or is that supposed to be there? But there's enough edges that we're highlighting. Yes, this is an edgy boy. That it'll like read well enough. It'll like blend together and read as just, you know, some vibrant magenta Spartan armor. I'll paint this one leg, and then I'll assess whether the highlight mix I've made is appropriate. I gotta make sure I don't over highlight in these areas that would be, you know, obscured by shadow. That's something more to keep in mind for the final round of edge highlight. It's more of a proper edge. This more is just like building up the volume a bit. Yeah, it looks like the camera's been staying in focus so far, which is nice. Music is quiet enough to be mistaken for a 3D printer in the background. Alright, maybe I'll bump it up 5 notches. Yes, that's right, already charred. They're built for play. They're kind of like Battletech minis. No assembly required, like they'll survive a drop to the floor, no problem. I don't recommend doing that because that'll of course chip the paint. But much different from like the average wargaming mini experience, where like if you drop that off the table, you better hope you brought some emergency super glue with you. 80, what helps me with inspiration? What helps me with inspiration? I mean, it's not always the same thing every project. Usually my inspiration comes from like a specific game function, or like when I'm kit bashing Gunpla models for use in tabletop. The inspiration is to be like creating it to fulfill a certain role as a game piece in whichever game. Okay, I think this is the right highlight tone. Yeah. And for like my Nord's army, all the kit bashing was inspired by just like, I enjoyed the kit bashing so much with my 100 Kingdoms and Spires that I was like, okay, what if I just started an army where like right from the get-go the plan is to like kit bash as much as reasonably possible. I was glad I had that idea because I was very happy with how the Nord's army turned out. When I done painting the Halo Flashpoint stuff, or like finish enough of it to take a break, I got about 15 to 100 Kingdoms models I want to paint. Then the next thing up for Conquest, I want to finally figure out the color scheme I'm gonna do for my Nords. I mean, I kind of know what the color scheme's gonna be. It's gonna be very predictable. But I haven't like mapped out the paints and techniques I'm gonna use. There's also a big Spires update coming in January, so that might, the Nord's painting might get interrupted by a few Spires paintings to just get another solid, fully painted list going. Like the 100 Kingdoms, I gotta get to a point where I have like one okay fully painted 2,000 point list, which I already have with the Spires, so it would be nice to get the Spires to a point where it's like, okay, I have like a few different lists I could play that are fully painted, not just like one that's not very good, but it's like, hey, at least it's painted. With the Flashpoint stuff, it's different because there's, you know, it's kind of a skirmish game in terms of like the amount of minis you have to paint. So I've got 8 Spartans after this, then some amount of brutes and 4 elites. Eventually we'll have, I think, 7 ODST. I can't remember how many come in the box. It's like what I'm saying is it'll be relatively easy to get to a point with the Halo stuff where it's like, oh, I've painted everything I have. I won't have anything new to paint until like a new set comes out. Yeah, sometimes 80 you can't wait for the circle back to your question there. Sometimes you can't wait for the inspiration to strike. Sometimes you have to like reluctantly force yourself to sit down and do something, and you kind of just like get into the zone. Or sometimes you gotta recognize, like, if you're just like not having a good time and frustrating, you should like put it down and do something else. Come back later feeling fresher. Maybe in that time you step away, you'll come up with a new idea. So that's important, to have multiple hobbies, which of course is a slippery slope, because if you end up with too many hobbies, then your hobby just becomes collecting hobbies, and you get the jack of all trades, master of none syndrome, so to speak. One leg not done. We gotta do the other side. Don't want to over highlight this part because it is, you know, definitely obscured by shadow. Oh, we still gotta do a little bit. Also, please let me know if the camera is jumping in and out of focus. I'm obviously focused on the painting. Okay, now I think that leg's done. Hello, Blush. Oh yes, did I interest you because you are a Halo enjoyer, perhaps? Are you a fan of John Halo, the Master Chief? Annoyingly, with this Halo Flashpoint game, it's pretty... the supply or the availability of the Master Chief miniature is annoyingly hard to get. I always appreciated Halo a lot, but I was given a PlayStation as a child, not a Xbox. So I only ever played Halo at a friend's house, but I did watch plenty of Halo-related YouTube videos in the late 2000s. Definitely had plenty of fun times playing couch co-op or multiplayer at my friend's house that did have Halo. I did have Halo Combat Evolved because eventually that one did come out for Mac when I was a lanky teen playing on the iMac because that's what was available. Thankfully, we got, Feral Interactive making the Mac version of Age of Empires 3. I don't remember if Feral Interactive also did the Halo Combat Evolved port. I remember it being pretty jank. That might have just been because of the computer I was running it on, though. Vaguely interested to see whether Halo Campaign Evolved, that newest thing that's coming out, is any good. I don't think I'm gonna play it though. I definitely, I guess I can't remember if it's coming out on PS4 or not. I could play if I wanted to, but I might just I'm a real tabletop nerd, so I might just opt to play more Halo Flashpoint instead of more Halo video games. Or paint the minis while watching a compilation of the new cutscenes. Oh, you snuck out for the Halo 2 launch, nice. Yeah, if you don't know about Halo Flashpoint, Blush, it's basically like a tabletop miniatures game that simulates Halo multiplayer. And it's grid-based movements, so it's kind of like, it doesn't necessarily play like the typical wargame where you're measuring in inches and whatnot. Kind of came out of left field when it was announced. A lot of people would expect, because when there were Halo miniature games in the past, they were just more like war game of UNSC versus Covenant type deal. So when one did come out and it was focused more on the multiplayer combat, people were just a little bamboozled by that. But it ended up being pretty well received and still going. And that edge highlight was a little messy, but it's okay. It's just on the back of the thigh, or the inner back of the thigh. You don't really buy individual minis for this one. You can buy some of the Spartan expansion teams, and I don't know, it depends on where you are. I think it's probably around, you can buy a box that comes with 4 Spartans and the stat cards and tokens you need to play and everything. It's probably around $50. Don't quote me on that. But then like the starter set of the game, which comes with a terrain and map and stuff, the cheapest version might be that's the Recon edition. So you'll get 8 Spartans, two identical teams, one in like red plastic and one in blue. So that's like the basic beginner starter set, and I think that might be around $100. Don't quote me on that. And then there's the Spartan edition where you might get 12 Spartans, I think. Maybe 16 Spartans and 4 elites and a bit more terrain, I think. Don't quote me on that. And then there's the Rise of the Banished set where instead of Spartans and elites, you get elites and brutes. The ODST set is coming out soon. I can't remember what comes in that one other than the ODST models. I don't know if it's like 2 sets of ODST models in different colors or whether it's ODST versus some aliens of some kind. But comparing it to other popular war games, I'd say Halo Flashpoint is on the cheaper side of things. And it's not a game you have to like buy. Like the initial investment is a certain cost, and then like the stuff you keep buying after that, it's pretty low and infrequent. So like the recurring costs aren't too bad if you like want to keep playing the game in its newest versions and get the new shiny stuff. But all things said, I'm relatively new to Halo Flashpoint still. So I imagine as I play it more, I'll develop more nuanced opinions and recommendations about it. And it's made by Mantic Games. It uses an engine from one of their older games called Dead Zone, which I heard was decent. No problem, Blush. Hello, Soap. Yeah, Soap, go read my YouTube community post from like 6 months ago. Just scroll back, or it's on Instagram too, just like for the post of a selfie of me with no beard. That'll explain. The bearded era is over. The painting models era is eternal. I hope, anyways. Being a massive nerd part is definitely eternal. It's one thing that's been consistent in my life. Before we move on to the torso, I can't miss the belt. Is anyone else doing any scale model or tabletop related things today? Looks like the camera needs a reset. Moving on to the torso. Sorry, these highlights are extra crispy. I'm having a hard time being chatty when I concentrate. Okay, that part's over. Also, in case anyone's wondering, I'm a big Alien and Predator and Alien vs. Predator fan, and I was very pleased with the new Predator movie. It gets a recommend from me. Predator Badlands, that is. Nice, Don Johnson. Are you painting, or is that the the one-page rules actual box product they made, where it's the legally distinct Tomb Kings versus legally distinct Lizardmen? Very nice blush. Love me the high-grade Ariel. That's a good model kit. How many of you watching today also watched the stream yesterday? Because I could re-explain kind of my rationale of painting choices for these. But I don't want to seem too redundant if it's going to be repeat information for a lot of you. Of course, I might just naturally start rambling about it again to fill the void. Nice, Don. So the minis, or that's a good starter set then? Does the resin seem durable enough? Because I know lots of Kickstarters that do 3D printed models, if they use a third party to fulfill them. I've heard some pretty rough stories of the quality of minis backers will receive. But I imagine one-page rules, getting to the point of actually releasing a product that can be sold in stores, they probably have solid or at least acceptable tier minis in the box. Or at least minis without print layer lines, I hope. I'm just assuming that the model comes with 3D prints in the box because, one-page rules makes a lot of STLs. I assume they're still doing that business model with the rules being free and all. And in case you don't know, for the record, I do enjoy one-page rules games, and I think they're very, they fulfill a very important role in the wargaming industry. And when I'm with my job at the local game store, it's a good recommendation to have in the back pocket for the people that are either priced out or too intimidated by Warhammer, but still have some minis. Or oftentimes parents will come in either getting into wargaming with their child, start with a 40k starter set because it's just that's the monopoly of war games. It's nice to be able to give them the little, if you don't like or if like the rules for 40k are too overwhelming, just look up one-page rules and use your Warhammer minis with it. Trust me. Okay, I think we're onto the helmet on this one. They're less brittle than a lot of other 3D prints. No layer lines. Very nice, that's good to hear. Would you say the box you got was a reasonable price? Onto the helmet. I think that part's also supposed to be magenta. I've been calling it magenta because the base paint I use is P3 Murderous Magenta, but maybe it's more of a pink, or it'll read as more of a pink in the end, or a, I don't know, is fuchsia just like a pretentious way of saying magenta? I feel like I'm messing up a bit on this part of the helmet. Might be able to salvage it in the second highlight phase though. Oh, it's a birthday present, gotcha. Well, seems like a nice birthday present. Oh, lots of little ridges to highlight on the helmet here. Plus a thing that's clearly a mold line. But it is tempting to highlight as if it's part of the sculpt. Don't know if that'll make it blend in better or stand out more. I'm gonna opt not to highlight it, I think. Oh dear, we have 0 viewers now. I guess I can stop talking for a bit. Ain't gonna let 0 people watching be an excuse to stop painting. I definitely don't care about the ad revenue anymore. Now there's at least one. Another back holding back, or another Nate holding back the void. One light standing against the darkness. Okay, I think that's this first round of edge highlighting done on this guy. It is tempting to mix it a bit brighter and get going on the second one, but I need to just go to Spartan 3 and 4 first. The watch counter probably is borked. I'm not like constantly monitoring it either, because that would be a little silly in a painting stream. It is decently edgy. It's going to get even edgier once we get to that second highlight. But we're going to take a pointing Spartan. I haven't named... These all have official names, like, you know, one's Spartan Bruiser or Spartan Scout or something. I'll get around to memorizing that once I'm like, you know, once they're done painted and I'm playing more. Just stretching. Okay. Lower in the chair a bit. Things are getting serious. Did the music stop, or is it just very quiet? It's just quiet. Alright, starting at the feet again. Pretty rough mold line on this foot. I suppose I could have scraped mold lines, but when I saw that the minis are just supplied, completely assembled, no glue required, you know, my brain is like, oh, that means I can just go straight to painting and I don't need to do any sanding, right? Right? Well, it's too late now. I mean, it's not too late, but it would be silly to just start scraping off mold lines now and just have to redo a bunch of painting. It's no biggie. Nice defined dad boomer calf here. That's a nice big highlight. Get a paint water check. It's like a nice, almost lavender drink. Dare you to take a sip. Please do not take a sip. It's mine. I don't know how you could. There's a internet barrier between us. Drink your own paint water. Don't actually drink paint water, though. Alright, that calf is done. Let's move on to the other calf. There comes in the dramatic part of the song. Another nice bulbous calf to highlight. There's always that little bit of water that pools on the metal part of the brush that you gotta wipe off after wiping off the brush already. It's going to be a little nerve-wracking, you know, doing all the edge highlights, finishing this part, and then painting the base. Well, it's going to be nerve-wracking, you know, trying to, because I want to do a gradient on the base, just a basic gray one. But we're going to have to be careful to avoid painting the feet accidentally whilst wet blending. Oh, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Alright, that calf is done, basically. On to the thighs. I'm not sure if I'm gonna reach it to 90 minutes for this stream today, not because I'm fatigued, more because me and Blue Parappa had a couple cheeky games of Magic the Gathering Commander today, and I do work later, so time is somewhat limited because, you know, gotta shower and shave for work and all that. At the very least, I want to finish this stage of pink edge highlighting on all the Spartans. I think that should take me to about the appropriate stream ending point. Next stream could possibly be early next week. It depends. Or there could possibly be one tomorrow, but it depends on how knocked out I am by the COVID vaccine. You know, usually pretty decently knocked out, so probably not gonna be a stream. But you know, now this is stream 2 after returning from hiatus. So there'll be more to come. You know, just protecting myself and making sure I can pay for rent and groceries by going to work have to come first. Got a lot of painting projects to get through though. And streams can certainly assist in getting through that list of projects. Just edge highlighting the Spartan chastity belt here. Alright, gotta do the other thigh. I don't think I've done the back. I did do the back of the thigh. Also, if you'll allow me to go on a mini rant, although you don't need to allow me because it's my stream, since the last YouTube video I uploaded, there's been so many just absolute crap AI features introduced on like both of the audience side and the creator side of YouTube, and gotta say, super cringe. Like, who asked for a YouTube AI feature to just like generate responses to comments for you? Or like, let's just generate a bunch of bad thumbnails and video ideas for you without asking. Or the auto dubs, that's pretty frustrating. Auto dubs are just turned on automatically on all my stuff. They just assumed I wanted that. Maybe I'm just roasting myself accidentally because there was like a thing I could have opted out of that I missed. This would be a lot more frustrating if I was, you know, trying to make videos on the regular still. That was frustrating enough as it was at the time. Thank you, Blush. I appreciate that. And yeah, nothing wrong with lurking. But I appreciate you chiming in with that. I try to have a chill stream. Mini painting's pretty chill after all, most of the time. This guy's shoulder pad's a bit more intense of an edge highlight. For the purple anyways. Pink, fuchsia, magenta, whatever. Alright, can call that arm done, I think. feel like I have just the right amount of paint left on the palette too for the rest of the stream. I wonder at what point I'm gonna finally need to get compression gloves. Or go on the hunt to find the right kind of compression gloves for the specific kind of strain. I find like my pinky gets cramped a lot because I'm often like using the pinky to stabilize while I'm painting. Also gotta make sure I rinse off the brush a bit more frequently so that less crusty paint gets stuck in it. Oh yeah, and when I mentioned me and Blue Parappa were playing some Magic the Gathering Commander earlier, and we were listening to the Halo 2 soundtrack, and it was bumping. The putty is kind of loosening on this. Might have to re-roll it. Oh, camera's out of focus, my bad. Highlighting the knuckles and back of the hand is a bit of a doozy, not gonna lie. Alright, that arm's done. Just the torso and head on this one left. Torso including the butt plate, which I've neglected earlier. something like some jaunty classical music to keep the juices flowing. And by juices, I mean paint. Just looks like this thigh needed a bit more edge highlighting while I was back here. Okay, this putty is loose enough. I need to re-squish it. By putty, I mean poster tack. No fancy magnets on the bases of these guys. Hopefully that holds for a while. This brush started off pretty crispy, but the tip's curling already, so this one I think I got in like a trade or something that wasn't like super fancy to start with, so can't really say I'm disappointed. Just because the tip's curved doesn't mean you can't still do good work with it though. You just gotta work with that curve. Or hook is probably a better term. You know what, as looking at the paint on the palette and the time, maybe I'll have to stop the stream after finishing the highlights on this one. Or maybe like just do the calves and feet on the last one. Just so like when I pick it up later I'll be able to see, it's like, okay, I didn't finish this stage, gotta finish it up. Nice ridgy chest here, plenty of enjoyable edge highlights to be had. Got some nice ambient drones going on now with the soundtrack. think it's helmet time now. Just gonna compare it. Alright. This one has the... I think this one has... No, this one's got the second lowest amount of blue visor showing. The one I just painted before this had the big dome helmets. That one has the most blue visor. I'm looking forward to painting the other two squads of Spartans, because I'm gonna go with like a completely different color of like under armor, visor, and armor for them. So I can just have plenty of vibrant variety. And you know, same thing for the elites and brutes. Me being me, I'm not gonna paint any of them according to the box art. So that's how I like to roll. Playing around with different colors is just too fun. This helmet is also very edgy, gotta say. You could say too edgy, perhaps. Alright, helmet done. I'm gonna at least do some like feet and calf work on this fourth one. Do a few more minutes on the stream I can spare. And we'll have a stream about roughly the same length as yesterday. Yeah, this is the one with the least amount of visor showing. I never played Halo Infinite, but I've definitely seen Spartans with cat ears. Unfortunately, Halo Flashpoint hasn't released a mini of that one yet, as far as I know. Huge missed opportunity, obviously. And of course, I should probably have a rabbit ear Spartan helmet. Hello, Country Fried Minis. Yeah, cat ears usually enhance the things they are placed upon. The paint's too wet. Mop that up. Yeah, same here. Blush. Same here. Now I'm also imagining a Spartan helmet that's just like modeled to look like Star Fox or something. Or a dumb looking frog helmet. One with big bull horns. We'll start getting into like Saturday morning kids show territory. Those good old ridges on the back of the thigh. I do enjoy them. Nothing like a distinct edge to run the brush across. To do on the inside of the shin here. Okay, I think that leg is done for now. Yeah, the Power Rangers did cross my mind. Blush. Alright, I'm gonna finish the other leg up to the thigh and then wrap up the stream. And looks like we got just about the right amount of paint left for that. I avoid the mistake of last stream of leaving too much paint on the wet palette and then going to work and coming back to a bit of a mess. No paint leaked into the sponge though, so that's great. Yeah, there's a fiber stuck in the brush that I've brushed onto the Mini now. I think it's fine now. Oh, it's still there. Well, the kind of basic, like, lowest cost starter set for Halo Flashpoint comes with 8 Spartans. So there's this batch of 4 here. This is the one that's like in red plastic, and then it comes with the identical 4 in blue plastic. And then this set, or this collection that I'm painting for the store to use for events. There'll be 2 other squads of Spartans with like more interesting weapons and helmets. And then I also got the set with 4 elites and 4 brutes, I believe. But yeah, it's like, in this game, I'd say like if you were getting into it, you're only needing to paint like a skirmish level of minis, like, less so than Infinity, maybe. I say the squad of identical Spartans that came in the starter set with these ones, one of my co-workers is painting, because they looked fun to paint for them, so they offered, and I was like, yeah, sure. Just don't paint them magenta, because that's what I'm painting these ones. And also leave the bases untouched, because I gotta, obviously have them all have matching bases. Very important. Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna like stream this Flashpoint stuff exclusively until it's all done. I might paint like one squad of Spartans or 2 squads after this. Then take a break and move on to some Conquest for a bit. And circle back to paint the aliens in ODST. Not really gonna make a decision on that until I at least finish this squad of 4 bases and all. Get them varnished along with the terrain I already worked on. Yeah, it's more like I was saying earlier, Country Fried Minis, it's more like a board game masquerading as a war game, or a war game existing in the purgatory between board games and war games. The minis are more of like a quality you get from like a cool mini or not board game, if that makes sense. No assembly required, which is a huge bonus. The minis are also like a similar quality to like the newer plastic pre-assembled Battletech stuff. I know you 3D print most of your Battletech stuff, or like have the Iron Winds pewter, but I assume you've got some experience working with the more modern Catalyst Game Labs stuff. Yeah, from the hobby side of things, Halo Flashpoint is very approachable for beginners. And you could just treat it like a board game and not paint them if you want. I suppose that's like usually an option with any mini game if you're just like playing casually. Gonna paint the butt plate while I'm here. It don't take that long. I'll probably finish the rest of the pink of this round of edge highlighting on this guy when I'm back from work later. And it will not be streamed. I get vaccinated tomorrow, so probably not gonna stream. Hopefully I can do some evening stream early this coming week. If not, then same time as today and yesterday's stream next week, Friday and Saturday during the day. Should be pretty doable. Paint that cod piece a little bit more. Yeah, high-end board game pieces, exactly. I'm not even bothering with the mold lines on these Halo Flashpoint. This ain't the project for that. Alright, I'll finish the rest of the edge highlighting on that one later, because it's time for me to start getting ready for work now. Here's the current paint water status, looking pretty tasty. Got some water ASMR if you can hear that. Alright, well, thanks for watching the stream, everybody. Really appreciate everyone coming by. And yes, I just explained when the next streams are likely to be. Classic Millennial Model Mayhem not having a stream schedule. And yeah, I think that's it for now. Thanks again for coming, everybody. Hope you have a great rest of the weekend. And good luck with any painting or tabletop gaming endeavors yourselves. Goodbye.